one of the leading film critics, author, celebrity writer, Bhawana Somaaya. Ladies and gentlemen. I think our chief guest has arrived. Bhawana said, ma'am. I will call you on stage very shortly. Okay, we will start with the felicitations, ladies and gentlemen. We were waiting for our chief guest. I have one request. Aparna Sen is here despite not being too well today. So I would request, and I have consulted Oindrila for this, no photographs with her, ladies and gentlemen, after the event. Please excuse her this evening. She's made it. She's made it for Bhawana Somaaya ma'am. So ladies and gentlemen, Aparna Sen ma'am, please come up on stage to be felicitated. Please come up.
This way. Keep your bag there.
Sush, I will require you on stage. Okay, while Veenadi is coming up on stage. Another rule, mine this time. No photographs with anyone if you don't buy the book. She's the boss, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll sit on that side.
Can you welcome the two-time National Award winner, the celebrated actress, the iconic filmmaker, the diva of Kolkata, Aparna Sen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her very, very warmly. May I first request Mrs. Alka Jalan to please felicitate the chief guest.
Check. What happened? No, it will come on, I'm sure. Check. Yeah, I think it's on now. Anshush?
স্পিকারের কাছে যেতে বারণ করছে কি হলো ma'am please ladies and gentlemen Alka Jalan needs no introduction. We are here because of her and Oindrila this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Alka ma'am. Thank you so much.
Can somebody take the book?
May I now request Momota Ruth. She is the managing trustee of the Sudhanta Foundation India and our title sponsor this evening to first felicitate Aparna Sen.
You can leave your bag down.
Aparna ma'am, you please sit down. It's not, now, please sit down. Our panel, please sit down.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tathagato is here. More on him later. Please, TC sit. Please be seated.
Can you open this?
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I thought you were telling me that's yours.
We have a very, very talented young man today who's an IT professional, popularly known as Coffee Man. He's stunningly brilliant, ladies and gentlemen, and he is going to present Aparna Sen ma'am with a portrait of hers, done with coffee. Can I have you on stage, Fatho? Quickly.
So bright.
Ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot. Can you please give a round of applause? Fatho, hold it up with Aparna ma'am.
Rocky, lights গুলো একটু পেছনে করা যাবে?
হ্যাঁ একটু কমিয়ে দাও ঠিক আছে
Many of you present here today would be aware of this fabulous brand, Gunti. They are one of the leading interior designers of films, of homes, of offices, and they have a beautiful store in Salt Lake. Its founder, Proshanjit, is not here today, but Debojyoti has very kindly agreed to represent him. Debojyoti, could you please first felicitate Aparna Sen ma'am? Ma'am, if it's difficult for you to stand every time,
No,
please
no, no,
don't.
it's not. Of course it's not. Mona, thank you so much. We'll finish up the launch. And launched a great felicitation. That would launch that way after the year. But the book, yeah, but the book should be. Huh? Book should be.
Yeah. Sush, I need the books on stage, please. Okay, Devajyoti, would you please felicitate Mrs. Alka Jalan? Ma'am, you don't have to come up on stage again, but if you can come up.
No, in fact, she should be here for
Okay,
the book launch.
Oindrila wants you up on stage, so you'll have to come up. Thank you, ma'am, for making this huge effort to come up. Thank you very much. Yes, Devajyoti, come. Thank you, Devajyoti, for your generosity and cheers to Gumti.
Wait, don't go away.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now quickly we will do the felicitations. May I request the owners of this marvelous lifestyle store and cafe, Kumbha Way of Life, Nandadi and Deepa Shah, to first felicitate Aparna Sen ma'am. Sush, can you please help the ladies? They have to felicitate everybody. After Aparna Sen.
I'm dying over here out of fear. I just want to say sit. You don't have to stand. I'm dying.
Thank you, Kumbha.
Call up the next one.
Yeah. Sush, can you please pass the next plant for Bhawana Somaaya ma'am to be felicitated, and then Alka Jalan ma'am.
Thank you, this looks lovely. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kumbha, thank you, Deepa and Nandadi, and Alka Jalan ma'am, for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Oindrila Dutt, events curator, one of the finest moderators, annoyingly talented, perfectionist, and we love her. Open doors, 3 cheers to open doors. Oindrila Dutt being felicitated by Kumbha. She has a tough job ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and see how easy she's going to make it. Thank you, Oindrila, for everything. Saira Shah Halim needs no introduction, ladies and gentlemen. TEDx speaker, author, political activist, theatre personality, a wonderful human being, a great friend, and a star of Kolkata. Saira Shah Halim, ladies and gentlemen, please give her a warm welcome. Thank you, Saira, for being on stage and being on the panel. Sush, can we have this? Have the plant? Quickly. Deepa, Saira? You've done it? Okay. Open ma'am, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we have somebody very special with us today. I love him from the deepest core of my heart. Tathagato Chaudhary, one of our sponsors, collaborators this evening, founder of Partition, doing wonders across India despite battling cancer, and I'll keep it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such an honor to have him. And I would like him to be felicitated by Deepa. Deepa, you felicitated? Yes. And finally, our title sponsor, the founder of a great foundation. Tell me the name quickly. No, the foundation. Sudamta Foundation. Oh, she is leading this foundation. She's our title sponsor today. She's a TEDx speaker. She's doing amazing work for health, hygiene, and mental education of women across Bengal. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her very warmly. Very, very warmly. She's the youngest on the panel. It must be scary for her. Thank you. Thank you for everything. And finally, the final felicitation will be done by my partner who's worked very hard. Somaaya ma'am, it was his dream to do this book launch, and it's happening because of Oindrila, Shushruto, and all the panelists today. Sush, would you please quickly do the last felicitation of Aparna ma'am and everybody on stage?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, wow.
Bancharam has been very, very kind to sponsor the sweets for the panelists. Thank you. Thank you, Shudeshna. I've not introduced Shudeshna. I don't want to waste time. Celebrity, and both Aparna ma'am and Shudeshna ma'am work together at Chanunda. And today Shudeshna is such a leading light in the Bengali film industry and a wonderful supporter for all of us.
Yeah. And Mona, go for the book. Yeah, done.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I hand over the microphone to our magical Oindrila Dutt to take the proceedings ahead, get prepared, because in a second I will request the chief guest and the panel to please stand to formally launch Farewell Karachi, a Partition memoir by Padma Shri Award winner Bhawana Somaaya. Could you please stand and formally launch the book? I request the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause. 19 books to her credit.
Nobody wants to come. Alka, I told you to be here. Alka, you're wanted.
Mrs. Jalan, could you please come up? Welcome, ma'am. Quickly. Sush, quickly. That was for you, not for Alka, ma'am. Oh, the books are here. That's fine. Just for the photo op, ladies and gentlemen, please be a bit patient.
Here. Here. Just everybody put the book out. Yeah.
Thank you once again to all our sponsors, our venue partner, Open Doors, Shushoto, and all you wonderful Kolkata audience. Sit back and have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's keep that off. Does she have to get up again? No. Okay. This is. That's it. She's gone.
Finally, the discussion. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dagani Kunj. And this evening, where we discuss a really touching, moving account of those pre-partition and post-partition days. Farewell Karachi. Racial and religious discord, disharmony, social disharmony, divisions, vile hatred, killing, horrific violence, a displacement of millions. Partition decimated India, and it left wounds which are indelible on both sides of the man-made border. As Javed Akhtar Sahab said, quite rightly, these wounds are going to take decades to heal and centuries to overcome. And in this book, Bhawana Somaaya really gives us a chronicle of the lives, the fortunes, the relationships, the migration, the trauma, the resettlement of a family, one family, hers, over a period of more than 100 years. And this is a very intimate tale of what happened then. It's intimate in its feel. It tells us about people, it tells us about feelings, and this is against the backdrop of one of the most turbulent, dramatic periods in the history of India. So, Bhavna, I wanted to ask you, we know so much about partition trauma that the Punjabis, the Bengalis, the Sindhis suffered. But partition and Gujaratis, that's a narrative that we seem to have missed out on. Maybe you can tell us more about that, the Lohana community especially. But more than anything else, what made you want to write this book?
To begin, I'll never be able to handle this.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to all of you. It's a very, very attractive crowd. I entered the place and I fell in love with it. And normally I get very stressed whenever it's my book launch or a book reading. And because my friend Indro was with me and he's the one who's escorting me everywhere and taking me around, he said, "Don't worry, it's a house full." And the minute I entered, I asked for Aparna Di if she had come, and they said she's on her way. And of course, the beautiful Mrs. Jalan and her this gorgeous place. And I don't know Mangrila personally, but I've heard about her. So thank you all of you for being here for me today. I appreciate it. Um, Everybody who has read the book get very surprised that the Gujaratis suffered the partition. So Gujaratis is not just one large community, there is a sub community called the Lohanas, like there are Jains and Vaishnavs and all that. So Lohanas have a history of 100 years in Karachi. And I think my great grandfather was perhaps one of the pioneers because in 1896 he boarded a boat with his father and left for Karachi, and that's how the empire began. He started it really on a small scale. They were kind of tributaries of the Tata Birlas, and then slowly he started doing the oil business himself, and then how he became a very rich man. My parents were born in Karachi. Their alliance was fixed while they were in school, and then they got engaged, then they got married. And I think it was the first large joint family where there were so many daughters-in-law, the sons, and the house structure was such that the men folk never saw the women till it was in the bedroom in the night. My father and mother had never seen each other before they got married, and both of them were in Wales during the wedding ceremony. And there were so many guests in the house that even after they went into their room, they had to speak in whispers because people used to stand in the corridors for some action to take place and for them to enjoy it. But strangely, I'm the eighth child of my family. We are eight siblings, six sisters and two brothers. And between me and my brother, there is an age gap of 25 years. So actually, my parents are like my grandparents. And six children were born in the British India when the migration happened and they came to India. And then later on, I think because of lack of any source of entertainment, my parents had my older sister, that is the seventh sibling, And the doctor suggested that maybe they should think of an abortion, but they were of the old world kind and they decided against it. And
14 years.
14 years, yeah. The difference between my sixth sibling and the seventh sibling is 14, 15 years. And then 2 years later, again, 1.5 or 2 years later, my mother discovered that she was pregnant. And this time they considered that now the family is too large, they cannot afford. And I think all the home remedies that were recommended, but I didn't give up because I had a mission first to look after my parents and then I think to write the book. You asked me why I write the book. You know, my entire life has been spent in chronicling superstars and cinema. And I now look back and wonder whether it was really worth it. Because so much time, attention, detailing, sensitivity is focused in documenting everybody, whereas there was a large, fabulous story at home, and I was not giving it any focus or attention. I don't know how it happened and how it was documented. It was very, very difficult. And you know, directors and actors say very often, this is my most difficult film and it's my most difficult performance. And we are very sensitized to the director and to the actor. And we make it a point to go and watch the film and understand the layers. But somehow, when a writer says that this is my most difficult book, somehow people are not sensitized to it. I feel, I'm just going to say this so that people buy more copies, that after the theatre world, the authors are the poorest lot. I cannot make my life by just writing books. It's because I am in a profession where my money, butter, bread, and jam comes from somewhere else. I'm able to write books. This is my 20th book, Mona, not 19th. And an author writes a book is of 1 lakh words, and to write 1 lakh words, you have to write more than 1 lakh words to sculpt it and to make it so perfect because writing is all about rewriting. But does 1 lakh people read your book? No. Do even 50,000 people read your book? No. People buy your books these days, the younger generation, because you just click on the link and the book arrives from Amazon to your home and it lies on your bedside and nobody finds time to read it. It's very sad and it's very heartbreaking. But I've learned to accept it because I'm not writing it for somebody else to read it. I'm writing it as a catharsis for myself. But if the book does well, then the publisher gets into a high and then many other things happen to you. So I've plugged the book and now I'll leave it to Andrea.
Thank you so much, Bhavka. You know, it's a really beguiling book that draws you, the reader, into many lives, into stories of courage, of survival. And in the book, Karan Johar has likened this book to a 70 film. And there's a huge cast of characters spanning some generations, a few generations. They're complex, but they're connected. And this is a very earnest, introspective story of ethics, of valor, and of integrity, etched out in amazing, fascinating details. For example, all the residents move from house to house at various points. And the detailing of the layout of those houses, that amazed me. You know, where the passages, the veranda, the cupboard, the kitchen, you can really see it. It's like a moving film. And there are insightful character portraits. Radha Pai, Saraswati Pai, Seema, and the very endearing and inspiring Ba, who once said when she was asked that, how do you manage moving from house to house? She said, when the family is together, nothing is difficult. And that really is the underlying theme of this book. It's amazing the kind of unity they have, even in diversity. And there are weddings which are described in such detail, patterns of family hierarchy. Somebody dies, the senior most person moves him easily into that role. That's how it's meant to be. So it's so cinematic, so visual. And Jomo, as a filmmaker, I wanted to ask you, what do you make of that?
Good evening, and thank you, Anki. Uh, Actually, I think Karan Johar is totally wrong. It's not just one 70 film. This book has more than one film seed in it. It's got so many stories. It's not a, if you were looking at it as a documentary, it's different. But if you're looking at it for a film story, then it's not just one, it's many. It's wonderful. It evokes nostalgia, and it's a book that I can see a lot of people who are probably, we are all part of post partition people, but we have all had these stories, similar lives, similar experiences in it that you'll find in the book. What Oinki described, that because she's a woman, her detailing is just marvelous. It's incredible. She has that eye for detail. I'm not saying that men don't have, but that is very much a feminine quality. If you go to a wedding and you see the bride and you come back, whenever we asked our father, what was the bride looking like? Very nice, like a bride. But like, what was she wearing? He said, must be a red sari. Then my mother said, no, it was magenta. And these were the jewelry. This is what they were wearing. So that eye for detail she has. And when we go into a house, it's the house, the way it is laid, gives you an impression of what is going on in the house and the warmth from the house. And in Bhavna ji's stories or the chronicle that she has written, I wouldn't call it a one story. It's a chronicle. It's a chronicle of the time. It's a chronicle of 100 years almost. And it talks about the times then, the little, family problems that could happen. I loved the bit where her father and mother were told to live in a different house, but it was done so beautifully. It wasn't as if in today's world we'd say, oh, he didn't look after the parents and they threw him away. No, they were all together in it. I loved the bit about Bhuj, about her maternal grandparents, and the way he looked, the story about Sarla and her grandfather, about how she would predict whether the price of it was going up or not. And it was amazing. I remembered my grandfather. I remembered my grandmother. So it's something that's really, the cinema in this is there, but it has more heart in it. It has more memories in it. It has more history in it. And of course, we didn't realize, we Bengalis always say, actually, partition happened only to West Bengal and Punjab and Sindh.
Yeah.
But partition affected the entire North India. It affected them because though it was just a steamer ride from Karachi, it was difficult. Her story about how her father arrived, it's like when you watch Papillon, I don't know, most of us have, and he jumps into the river, into the sea, and swims back. It was literally like that. 4 days in a boat with no food, no water, but just the courage of survival. And this book also tells you it isn't something that sort of, sticks a finger in the eye. It's something that subtly tells you about family, about courage, about how things were and how things are and how things could be. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bhavna ji,
Juno.
that was a lovely book and I enjoyed every little bit.
Reenadi, would you like to comment on that? And also, you've known Bhavna for a long time. So maybe you'd like to.
Good evening, everyone. It's a singular pleasure, privilege, and honor for me to come here this evening. And frankly, I mean, I would have done it over and over again several times for Bhavna. Bhavna is, I have known her for a long time. I knew her first as Shabana's friend, then she became my friend. And when I was in Bombay and I was in a very bad situation, then she opened her house for me. And even though I'm not religious, she is, she did a puja for me to tide me over my troubled times. I mean, I can never forget that. I can never forget it. Also, let me tell you, I'm not terribly surprised that Bhavna wrote this book. Of course, it was difficult, but Bhavna has been taking on difficult, steps. Has been taking difficult steps all her life. I mean, can you imagine someone at sort of middle age starting to learn Bharatanatyam and then going on stage and doing dance recitals on stage? So she's a courageous woman, and that's evident from this book where she gets the courage from. More than a film, this book, now let me talk a little about the book. This book actually, even though it's not a frightening tome, it's a slim little book and very easy to read. I suspect there will be more coming. But it reminds me somehow of Russian novels. The somehow within this slim volume, you get a sense of vastness. You get a huge sense of vastness of a large family traveling through a certain difficult time in India. You get a great sense of history. You get characters, many characters like in the Russian novels, and those characters are, even though briefly, but they are very well etched. You can tell what kind of people they are, and as I think everyone talked about today, the descriptions of the houses, the structure of the houses, you felt that you knew this family. It's a very difficult thing, both in cinema and in literature, to make the reader or the viewer care about the characters. Bhavna succeeds in doing that. She makes you care about the characters, about what happens to them. I must say that I was deeply, deeply, deeply moved. And Bhavna, kudos to you, really. And I thought how much research must have gone into this. And this, you have done so much research that I think another volume has to follow. Really. Now, if you don't mind, I'll read out a little bit. Bhavna had requested me, and it's more than a pleasure. Just a minute, let me find the page. Okay. Can't really see.
Can you see?
Yeah, I have to come.
Some light on her. Or
Let
you
me
can
get
your
some
mobile.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In this way, the years were galloping by. A lot had changed and a lot was about to change. In early 1953, Ba had been feeling unusually fatigued for some time. So Bapuji accompanied her to the family physician, a lady doctor, who on examination revealed that Ba was pregnant. My parents were shocked. Both were in their 40s and parents of six. Terminating the pregnancy was an option, but not for my parents because they were conditioned to nurture lives. Both returned home unsure of what lay ahead of them. This is a part of my parents' life that continues to intrigue me, and I still don't have all the answers. I've always wanted to know how they dealt with the news. Were they angry? Embarrassed? What did they say to each other when they came out of the clinic? Did they head home directly or did they stop to have a cup of tea somewhere? How did they explain it all to their grown up children, their extended families, their married son and daughter, and their in laws? How did they break the news to their three unmarried daughters? And more importantly, how did the children and our grandparents receive the news? What was going on in their minds until the baby arrived? Were they subjected to mockery, gossip, hostility? Or was it all quiet and natural? I suspect that my parents offered no explanations to anyone, least of all their children. And knowing my well brought up siblings, none of them questioned our parents nor discussed it amongst themselves. They did it after they were grown up, though. And I'm surprised that there was no resentment from anyone. Whenever I had an opportunity, I asked them how they dealt with their unusual situation. Was it not awkward? How did their friends, all our aunts, uncles react? It was curious to know who broke the news to my brother so many miles away in London. How did Moti Ben's in-laws react? Was she subjected to barbs and sarcasm? My Bhabhi's family was not a problem because her mother was pregnant around the same time as Ba. Strangely, all this happened so many decades ago, but I continue to seek answers. There is a possibility that I'm overthinking this entire thing because, from what I gather, it was as simple as Ba walking to the hospital one morning and returning with a baby in her arms the following morning. The baby, my parents' seventh child, was a pink-cheeked angel, the Somaaya family's first independent India baby born in the summer of 1954. Baubai, that's the eldest brother, named his baby sister Jyoti. But Moti Ben was reading a novel where the protagonist was named Seema. She was so enamored by the character that she changed the newborn's name to Seema. Then what happens? I'm just shortening it. 9 months after Seema was born, Moti Ben was in the family way with my parents' first grandchild, Harshad. One day, Ba was shopping with Moti Ben for her God Bhari baby shower ceremony when she sensed a familiar ache. Something was not right. So she came right home. Bapuji rushed her to the clinic and they were in for another shock. Ba was pregnant. She had been for a few weeks and didn't even know. My parents could not afford another baby, not just financially but medically as well. The expenses were already insurmountable, and my mother had been deemed unfit for another delivery. The doctor suggested natural termination with kitchen remedies. Both reluctantly submitted to the idea, but clearly destiny had different plans. The forthcoming baby, yours truly, refused to give up, and on 6th September, a Wednesday, I drew my first breath at midnight. I was named Bhawana.
Congratulations, Bhavna. This is a wonderful book. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reenadi. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
And Bhavna, she talked about the next edition. Once you made up your mind that you were going to write this, how did you set about gathering the information, doing your research? There are some wonderful pointers in this book. So, would you talk to us about it?
First, Aparna, you read the passage so well. I think Coco and you read the best.
Thank you.
I was telling my publisher that if my book has to be made into an audiobook, it has to be either Konkana or Aparna or both of them. Okay. When you are writing a book on Amitabh Bachchan, because for instance, I've written 3 books on him, it is very easy for me to have a graph in my head that South Hindustani was his first film in 1969 and Kalki was his last release in 2025 or 4, whatever. So I know the graph and I know how to flesh it out. But here I was clueless. One, I was not born in Karachi. 2, I wanted to visit Karachi and smell the soil before I write about it, but it never happened. And then it was not going to happen. Then I went to Kutch. But my oldest sister had written down certain details, facts of the family tree, which my brother in Toronto wanted it. And she asked me whether I would like to have a copy of it, and I said yes. But that was not enough, it was just a trigger point to start with. I was very curious about my maternal grandparents because my maternal grandparents were extremely affluent and their home was like a mansion and a mahal. And my sister, the one who was in Berlin, had described it in detail to me very often. And I told her that you're a dormant writer. Please write your own story from 47 Partition to the Berlin Wall because she had witnessed it. But she never did it and then she died. And I was heartbroken. And one day, her son called me up. He was, clearing the house in Berlin, and he said, "Bhavna Masi, I have something for you." Beneath her mattress, she had in exercise book written out details of the Karachi home, of a Bhuj home, and she said that I know she's not written anything, but she's left all these things beneath very secretly, and it is for you. And then I just started using it, and I was fleshing it out. And Aparna, you know what happened? Somebody who has read the book said, you're getting into details and details and details of the house. I mean, I want to say, get on with it. So I said, nobody is forcing anybody to read it. I am documenting not just my family story, but the culture, the times, the cuisine, the festivals, the everything about the community. So whoever doesn't want to read it doesn't read it. It's very difficult to write descriptions.
Thanks.
I'm speaking less so that everybody gets a chance.
Yeah. Okay. There's a horrific, absolutely horrifying description of a day of violence in Karachi in the month of June 1948, I think 6th June. And the house was ransacked, their house. Women, children, the aged, no one was spared. They were beaten and bruised, and valuables were stolen. When the men came back, the house was burning. Then again, Babuji, Jumu talked about it. He jumped onto a boat, everything. He was thrown on the ground, beaten up. Every bit of money was taken away. He barely managed to save his transfer order papers, which was very valuable to him. He saw the steamer leaving, the one that was supposed to carry him back. And then he saw a few, 2 or 3, 4 people jumping onto this fisherman's boat. And he thought, I'll never survive, but then this is sure death. So he jumped onto that. That was really dramatic. I'd like you to deal, Totha, on the sheer theatricality of this and many more such incidents which make an indelible imprint on you. So, talk about that.
With Bhavna ma'am's permission and also Indra ma'am's permission, I'd like to take the liberty of deviating a bit from Farewell Karachi and tell you about my personal association with the author, which she's clueless about, obviously. She's not even aware of my existence, and which is but very obvious and natural. But I'd like to tell you about my association with the author. In my growing up years, so when first Ahava told me that there is a possibility that we'll be inviting Bhavna ma'am to come to Calcutta, two immediate images was very difficult to avoid. One is Screen newspaper, and the other is a book called The Legend. Now, there's a lot more to Bhavna ma'am than what I just mentioned. But I couldn't imagine a Friday or a Saturday without having gone through the Screen. I still remember the signature, the Bhawana Somaaya signature, the way it used to come from the editor's table. So I always wanted to know the person, and the very fact that today I'm getting a chance to be in this panel, it really, really means a lot. I'd like to just tell you a few observations, as Indra ma'am just mentioned, about the theatrical element. I just like to tell you that what I feel when I was reading this book is that how relevant the style of writing is for today's people of a certain generation. The way that the pages unfold, for me, it is almost like a Tarantino style, minus the close-ups and the fast edits. In a long pan shot, I get to see it, and the way that the chapters are named, especially page 139. I mean, I just saw the caption and I was like, wow, waiting for Godot here. And the entire family tree in the beginning, it reminds me so much of Game of Thrones. The entire mapping and the way that it is structured. So I must really tell you, ma'am, that in all these years that I have been following your writing is still so very relevant, so fresh, so young, and it appeals to readers of all ages. I haven't gone through the book in a chronicle manner, but I have definitely gone through the pages. It is so hard hitting for someone who's not aware of the perils of partition. It's almost that as if I've been living there. I think it is more than a film. It is really very touching. Thank you.
Thank you, Tata. Bhavna, back to you.
So I want to say thank you. And I'm deeply overwhelmed. I'm not somebody who gets easily flattered, but I'm deeply touched. And lots of people have reacted very overwhelmingly. And I remember one woman called me up and she just couldn't stop crying on the phone after she had finished the book. And I said, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "For the loss. I'm crying for the loss." So I said, lots of people ask me, that you lost so much. You were born when your parents didn't want you to. Don't you resent it? Don't you feel deprived, bitterness? I don't, because I really had very special parents. My father gave us so much strength, confidence. We were lower middle class, but he made us feel so special. There was so much love and security in the house. There was never any deprivation. And I think that's what makes me hobnob with the biggest and the best without any apology or wanting to change myself. And my mother was completely the opposite. She was so sensitive, so artistic, so aesthetic, so creative. All this recycling and everything, it comes from her. So I am just feel just so blessed about my legacy and my lineage.
What you just said is a lesson in itself. Thank you for sharing this.
And I think I really would have liked Bhavna to talk about Ba. She fascinates me in this book. She's quiet, resilient, very strong, gentle yet calm. And she's the glue that holds everybody together. The people, the incidents, the families, everything. So maybe you'd like to tell us a bit about her. But I also wanted to ask you, Bhavna, were you relieved to be one of the two born in free India and one of the two who didn't have to go through the pangs of displacement and separation? Or was it always there in you, that longing that I want to go there? I wish I'd known what it was like, that life, because your family was so closely tied to Karachi.
I don't think one valued that one was born in a free India because you just took it for granted. But when I was piecing the book together, I was in my head walking the streets of Karachi and smelling the coffee there. And that's why I think I try to find glimpses in the Pakistani serials. I don't watch them often because they're so good and I don't want to get addicted to them. But my mother says that it was very progressive at that time. And there was not so much of recession, regression, or anything. And I think the anguish must have always been there. Otherwise, I would not have been the kind of persona I am. And that's why when my psychologist friend was traveling with me and asked me, "What is your biggest fear?" I didn't know. And I said that I fear not having a roof above my head. And she was shocked. I mean, it's the last sentence that should come from me because I live in a very comfortable home and I have more home also. So, why should I feel insecure about not having a roof above my head? And she resolved it for me by saying that it is the insecurity of displacement. So I said, "But my parents never talked about the displacement." But it must have been there and then, and I was like a sponge absorbing it. I don't sense it in my other siblings. Maybe because I stayed the longest with them together, whatever it was. Um, I'm happy with every experience that happened to me. I'm a product of my circumstances, and I'm content and I'm contained.
Great. Saira, the politics of the time has been woven into Flower Karachi by Bhavna. And the terrors, the horrors of migration are evident. And till date, displacement, matters of displacement, refugees, so to speak, the resultant economic strain. People exploit them, the unscrupulous, and also different political dispensations. So I'd like you to comment on that.
Sure. So, firstly, good evening, all of you, and thank you so much, Ahava Communications, Sushruta, Mona, for having me with such a lovely and respected panel. The point is that when you talk about displacement, whenever there's a partition, I think it affects both the sides. There is politics, of course, with the various governments, and it's very easy to say, cancel these people out. And I don't know whether I should say this or not, but Bhavna, it should bring some solace to you. But I have been to Karachi. This is a couple of years ago for to speak at a literature festival.
Please invite me next time.
I'll do that. So this is before the politics of the times actually, engulfed all of us. So I think when I tell my parents, being an army kid, my father fought the 71 war that liberated Bangladesh. So he's a 71 war veteran, and we keep hearing about stories from those days, and of course the grandparents. So the horrors of whether it's war, whether it's partition, whether it's displacement, affects humanity. And unfortunately, what happens is the governments, the various governments, I'm not naming any political party, take political mileage out of that kind of grievance or that tragedy that engulfs human beings and makes a mockery of that, which shouldn't be the case. I think it's time that we talk about, what you've done in your book. You've chronicled the journey of women, and what touched me is that, when you talked about that there were no proper medical, doctors available, medical practitioners, they were hakims, and women were giving birth at home without any medical recourse or any medical help. And even basic things like a menstruating woman, when you describe it so vividly, that she, Ba had to take those old saris and
Actually, she was going for miscarriage.
miscarriage at that
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and she didn't know that it was a miscarriage, and the whole house is horrified because she's bleeding away, and
But
she
she
keeps
didn't want to disturb her husband.
she didn't want to disturb her husband.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of patriarchy also. But the main question I wanted to ask you is that when you look at these women, the pre-partition era, do you think that these women were empowered, or do you think that they were disempowered? Considering today's, we talk about women empowerment. So want to know your idea about women from those days, from what you've heard from your family and what you've witnessed, what you've felt. Would you like to share it with the audience?
So the incident she's referring to is an incident where my mother is suffering a miscarriage. She doesn't know it probably at that time. And the joint family has just disintegrated, and it's a nuclear family now. That's just my parents and the children. And the father is at work, and my father did two jobs because what he earned from the Burma shell was not enough for the family, and he was doing a second job at night. So he left in the morning and then he came home post midnight. When you ask me this question, I look at that entire horrific incident as extreme compassion and a very supportive partner. A friend of mine tells me, and today's time, because of the mobile phones, something happens with the younger couple in the house, and he says that he calls up, the wife calls his son at the office, and immediately the son comes to the father's office, and it becomes a war between the mother in law and the daughter in law within seconds, which is not what happened when he was growing up, because he would go home, and if his wife and his mother in law had had a problem, mother had had a problem, he would come to know only when he was in the room. I don't think it shows a weak mother that she is not respecting patriarchy, and that's why not disturbing my father. She is so full of tenderness for her partner who has worked whole day, then done a second job, and she knows the hospitals are closed. She doesn't want to tell him what is happening to her, so she suffers it, endures it, and when she looks at the clock and knows that the hospital is going to be open, she gently wakes him up and says, "It's an emergency. We have to go to the hospital." And he's there. He's there for not just that crisis, but for the smallest thing in her life. The most supportive man, I
Yeah.
would say, extremely chivalrous, so hardworking.
And I think maybe that is why she had that consideration, because he was such an amazing husband for that time. He helped her with the housework. Can't think of many men at that time who would do that. Even as a father, he insisted that all his 8 children became really well qualified academically. So he was a very different kind of man. Bhavna, I just wanted to ask you something. You know, I look at this, it's a really interesting cover. Your face split in two, and it's arresting, and it goes with the theme of the book. So, would you like to just briefly tell us a bit more about this?
I give all credit to the publisher and the designer there. They sent me this cover. It took me a while to understand what the image meant. He was very clear that he wanted a picture of mine in my 40s. I had a better picture. I thought I looked better in that picture. I said, "What about this?" He said, "No, I want this picture because you're smiling." And he had done the cover in about four colors, saffron and some others. I chose the most subdued color. And he said, "You want the book to sell or not? Let it be purple and pink." So I have realized after 20 books that I'm not an expert in everything. I can just do my writing bit and then just shut myself up and let the marketing department and the publishing department take over. I like to submit. It becomes easier for so many things.
Thank you. Orumita, you deal with people and problems. I'm going a little fast now.
Yeah.
Because Bhavna has a flight to catch, and before that, she has a whole lot of books to sign, which you're going to buy. You deal with people and problems, and it goes without saying that at a time of partition, it's rife with problems, people problems. But despite the differences in Karachi between the communities, there were some really strong bonds. Moolji Bhai's best friend was
Muslim.
was a Muslim,
Jusab Bhai.
Joseph Bhai.
You
Yeah.
know the furniture.
Yes, he would make all the furniture. Steadfast friend. Then all the women, there was a very strong bond of sisterhood among them. And I'd like you to deal with this aspect of the book.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank our communications Open Doors for having me here among this esteemed panel. So, firstly, I'll tell you something very candid. When I started reading this book, I took it as a professional project. Like, I have to go speak somewhere. For that, I have to read this book. In 10 minutes, the book didn't appear to me as a professional project anymore. It was my grandmother speaking to me. I come from a partition family. And till 29 years of my life, I used to feel very ashamed of talking about it because there are certain narratives like, "তোদের পিছনে কাটা দাগের দাগ আছে কি?" You know, that is how people used to shame people coming from the other side of the country. And a lot of people who have developed and resettled, they used to not tell that we come from a family that has a legacy of partition. That's what I owned up. While reading this book specifically, I remembered when my grandmother used to come and just rant by herself, telling that, I got married at 13-year-old and I was crossing a river. Me being a 29-year-old girl, for me, Partition is a very historical book affair. I have nothing to relate to it until I read Bhavna ma'am's book. It touched me in a way where I could feel the trauma she talks about, the displacement trauma, the trauma of not having a roof above head. Such things doesn't really affect a girl who has never even, had that privilege of understanding others' pain until I started working in the social development sector. So while reading the book, what I majorly felt that she talks about how women standing up for other women. And it's not something that is very declaratively, like a movement, but it's very subtle. And it's like a family where women are coming together and helping each other. Like when she's talking about Baz, this whole miscarriage, and she's not bothering the men of the family. It's something I've seen. My grandmother talking. She got married before she menstruated, 13-year-old. And yes, I have 5 maternal uncles and my mother. So it was 6 children. So yes, partition is something that has affected not just the Punjabis and the Bengalis. Her book narrated the fact that it has affected everyone, as Sridhashna ma'am was also speaking. The whole of North India has felt that crack. And especially when we go through the book, we will see that the whole trauma, that intergenerational trauma passes down. And it is not just that she has to go through the partition. Like, I have never faced partition, but I feel this. It has come through my mother to me that having a home is very important. I'll tell you something, when I made my first good amount of money in my life that I could consider myself settled, I didn't feel like buying a car. I didn't feel like buying a designer bag. I told my mom, "Mata bari kinto hobe." And my mom was like, "We have houses." And I suddenly felt that women do not actually have a house. We live in our father's house and we get married and we settle in our father's house. Sorry, my husband's house. Even Taslima Nasrin, our famous poet, she has also talked about this. A woman doesn't have a home. So, this idea of not having a roof above a head is not just a partition issue. It is something that has come down across generations who have faced the aftermath of partition. And while solving people's problem as my professional work as a social worker, I have felt that me being a part of a family that has faced partition has made me much more empathetic towards other people's problem.
Thank you, Ramita. And before we end, there's something I really want to ask Bhavna. You know, you've talked with such pangs about Karachi. It's there right through your book, that longing, the fact that you've heard so much, you've dreamt Karachi, you've been so involved. It's like a part of you bodily. Did this book help you to lay that to rest, to come to terms with it? Did it help you to, face up to the fact that this is something that was there in your life? Did it help you to move forward?
Absolutely. What a wonderful question. I think it's been very cathartic, and I think I have put a closure. And I'm at rest, I'm at peace, and I've accepted my anxiety and I have embraced my restlessness. I think that's a part of me, and I'm comfortable with it now. I think we've spoken very sober things. The program is coming to an end, so I want to just make it light. She spoke about my mother Ba and her very colorful personality, which comes from her mother, that is my mama, that's my grandmother. My mother was completely, you just could not put her in a box. She was her own person, unintimidated, unfazed by anybody in the world, and extremely candid and extremely original. So one day I came home and found her talking to her sisters and sharing film gossip. And I told her that, "Mom, but that's not true. You can't be just sharing anything with your siblings." So she said, "No, no, I'm the mother of a film journalist, and my sisters expect some spice from me. So I just say certain things that I've heard and certain things I make up." She one day woke up, she had watched in the night Diamonds Are Forever. And in the morning, she tells me, "Can I have Amitabh Bachchan's number?" So I said, "Why?" So she said, "No, because I want to give him some tips on what kind of films he should be doing. I don't think he's doing the right films." So I said, "No, mother, he's doing fine in his career without your advice." She will supervise Shabana Azmi from head to toe and say, "What is this cotton saris you wear? And you wear silver jewelry. It's not in the status of Javed Saab's stature. You should wear silk saris and diamonds because I don't approve of this." And she will tell Javed Akhtar that you should not wear colorful kurtas, you should only wear white. I mean, she was uncontrollable.
She sounds so much like my very embarrassing mother. So I really feel that there's empathy there. Everybody, I want to say thank you for an absolutely wonderful session that you've given me and all of us. Thank you so much, Bhavna, for entrusting us with this book. Thank you, Reena Di, for making it despite the fact that you weren't well and spending time with us. Jumu, my old friend Jumu, who it's always a pleasure to be on a panel with. Urumita, new on the block, and thank you, Saira, again, an old friend, and Papa. Thank you so
One
much.
minute, I have to have the last word. Andrea, you have been absolutely spectacular because as a journalist, I understand that with so many felicitations, so many sponsors, so many panelists, so many different angles to address the book, it is not easy to do it, navigate through the conversations, and do it fatafat on time. I am extremely flattered.
No, 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 I have to have the last.
Of course, the chief guest must have the last word. I love Aparna Singh. I will allow her anything.
Thank you, thank you. No, because I forgot to say something. I really wanted to say that about the book, and a very important thing. The book comes from an area of truth. I really wanted to say that because, without, there is no attempt to embellish, there is no attempt to at designing something. It comes from deep, deep, deep honesty. I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Bhavna.
And Reenadi, I really love the fact that she doesn't really, it doesn't matter. She needed to put it out there. And those who want to read it will read and understand and empathize. So that's a wonderful feeling of honesty. Thank you, Alka, as always, for this wonderful, wonderful location. Alka Jalan Foundation. Time and again we collaborate. But most of all, I have to say, this would never have happened without the enthusiasm of Mona and Shushruto of Ahava Communications. Could you come up and do a formal vote of thanks? And I'd like Alka to say the last few words.
Indro, whether anybody knows you or not, you are very special to me, and thank you for bringing me here.
That's so sweet.
Ladies and
The
gentlemen,
thing is so sweet.
first and foremost, for our chief guest, the iconic Aparna Sen. She was amazing this evening. I love the way she read. You can be louder than that. She's not very well. And a very belated happy birthday to Aparna Sen.
Thank you. I'm well. I'm well. Just let me tell you, I'm sorry I was late. I'm well.
Okay.
But I'm exhausted because my dog has given birth to 6 puppies. And the whole time I'm just feeding them, cleaning them, giving them medication.
Thank you for being here.
I'm sorry, but we were told that she's not well, so
Yeah.
that's a relief.
Yeah, because I was exhausted, absolutely
Okay.
exhausted.
She's actually the mother of the 6.
Literally. The grandmother.
Grandmother of the 6. And taking care of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, to our wonderful host this evening, Mrs. Alka Jalan. Can you have it for her? What a beautiful setting. Indian Metro, wherever you are, thank you very much. Where are you? Please come up. It all happened because of you. You brought Padma Shri Bhawana Somaaya this evening, and Kolkata is very thankful to you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to our panelists, Shudeshna, to Tothagato, Sarda Shah Halim, Onumitra. Can we have it? Can we have a round of applause? One word and they were here. And our moderator. I'm so besotted with her. Aren't you? Oindrila that of Open Doors. Let's have it for her. Shushruto, thank you. You worked very hard for the sponsors. You were after my life for this book. And thank you for bringing this book to Ahava. And for our sponsors, Gumti, Theatrician, Sudhamta Foundation, Bancharam, and Kumbha. Thank you so much for your generosity. We shall cherish you and all the best to you. Ladies and gentlemen, and Hyatt, the hospitality partner. Is the GM here? Is the GM of Hyatt here? Okay. Thank you to Hyatt for hosting Bhavna Ma'am. So 2 quick announcements. One is that her books are available at the back. Please get a copy signed and you can pay up there. Shushruto will guide you. Secondly, Sudhamta Foundation, our principal sponsor, also has a table with beautiful, beautiful things that you can take home. So ladies and gentlemen, let's all be generous together. And one final time, to farewell Karachi, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Kolkata, for making it so memorable. Thank you very much.
Mona, I'll just take one liberty to dedicate 2 lines for Bhavna ma'am. That Zakir Khan said कि हम भूख के पले बच्चे हैं, कि हम भूख के पले बच्चे हैं, एक दिन आएगा सब खा जाएंगे. जब घर से निकले हैं तो अब इतिहास रच के ही जाएंगे. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
There have been so many last words, just have to say a big thank you. Nothing more. Thank you, Bhavna ji. Thank you, Aparna. And Angela, of course, and all of the panelists. Thank you.
And thank you most of all of you for being here to encourage us. It's been a wonderful audience, back to the gills. Thank you. Please have a few refreshments, that chai and samosa.